Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Biz Talk. It's Friday. We've got a great guest today. Let's get started.
Good morning.
Hey, everyone.
It always gets me up and going.
Yeah.
Ready to go here. Good morning, everybody. I'm Glenna with Fusion One Marketing, and over here around in this square, we have the rest of our wonderful, amazing marketing team, Sarah and Kelsey. And at Fusion One, we specialize in getting companies more calls and more business. And then we started Biz Talk to highlight those same businesses that we love, but also grab some of their pro tips that we can all use. So before we get started, Sarah, can you remind everybody where they can find us?
Absolutely. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. We play live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget about our podcast, Marketing and a Mic.
Yes, we are all over the place. We are so excited because our guest today has so many tips and just so much information that she could share with everybody out there. It's going to be a great segment. So I want to introduce our special guest, Roxie Kelley, with Your Career is a Business. Good morning, Roxie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and top of the morning to you.
I was waiting for the top of the morning.
You can't have a last name of Kelly and not say top of the morning to you.
That's right. It's not. In fact, I love hearing that every time you say it. Well, we're just going to jump right on in, Roxie. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, my background is probably similar to a lot of people. I grew up here in the North Alabama area, in a little town called Eldridge, which is one of the oldest communities in the state once it became a state, and my family helped establish that. So I come from a lot of family, a lot of community background. And when I came to UAB to go to college, I graduated in physical education. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because it'll give you an idea about a career path, since that's what we're going to be talking about, is that in physical education back then, it was called a concentration in adult fitness if you were going for the exercise physiology part of that. But I also got a chance to teach at UAB before I left. I taught disco dance, of any of you that remember that. Yes, hyped up ballroom. So I taught disco dance and did some motor development classes for preschoolers, so elementary teachers at that school could learn how to do that stuff, and eventually ended up teaching high school. I taught at Briarwood for a while and was the volleyball coach there, and had never even played volleyball. I was the volleyball coach. But the one thing I figured out is we had this one little girl that she was this awesome tennis player. And so instead of serving the ball like you do supposed to, because I studied it. I mean, when I found out I was going to have to coach it, I was supposed to serve it. She served it like she was swinging her tennis racket. When she did that, it put it just barely clearing the net, and it would come right at the eyes of the other team. So we would get all these points before the game got started. They thought I was wonderful. The thing I figured out is just don't mess her up, and you'll be okay. So I find that true in life. And so then all of that went into then working with a couple of hospital groups here on preventive medicine things, and learning marketing with them. And that's also how then I got into the career coaching thing. And the thing that was consistent all the way through this path is coaching. In other words, we're trying to give other people information that would be helpful, because that's the way I grew up. I grew up with adults around my life that were not telling me what to do, but I just hearing people constantly telling you things that helped you move forward. So that's kind of the career path, and the Glenna and them know a little bit of a hook of some of that career path on, how we all do some things that are just fun because we like to do it. Also, when I was a teenager, I was with a singing group that we got a recording contract from RCA Records. Now, our parents didn't let us sign it, but we got the contract anyway. So had a little bit of fun background and that kind of stuff. So.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Golly, jack of all trades. So and you were telling us, I love the story about the contract and how they paid you or how they, I guess, proposed how to do it. And you were like, this doesn't seem like something I really want to get into.
So that contract was back then, which is age driven. It was not a lot of money, but they owned you. RCA Records would own everything you would do, and you would get paid nothing almost. So.
Wow. Yeah, they're like, you're a singer, but yeah, we own you.
Yeah.
So tell us how this is all kind of transitioned into your career as a business. How did it come to be? And really, who does it work best for?
Well, your career as a business, that concept came about 15 years ago when I got into the career coaching and mentoring and those kind of things. From the concept that I was constantly running into people that when they would lose their job or they were out unemployed, that they would be so disappointed because their company was supposed to take care of them.
Mm.
Well, that came from their parents and their grandparents that came out of World War II, because back then it was a domestic market only. And their companies did take care of people because companies had to have you in order to produce their product. But we're living in an age where there's multiple generations in the workforce. It is no longer a domestic market. It's a global market, and technology keeps driving everything. So it's not, companies are not trying to be good to you and take care of you. They have to make a business decision to stay in business.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to operate like that. So your career is, if you start operating the way companies are having to operate, then you see things coming possibly, or you're prepared for maybe a change in your marketplace. But it came from that, oh, I'm so disappointed because they were supposed to take care of me, and companies can't take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the main concepts that you have for people is for people to stop viewing themselves as an employee and to prepare themselves to move themselves. So can you explain a little bit more about why that mindset is important to have when it comes to advancing your career?
Well, if you have the mindset that you are a business, it is YOU Inc., period. You're always going to have the job title of sales and marketing director of YOU Inc., no matter what other titles you might carry. Mm-hmm. Then what it does is it helps you understand that you're looking for a business partner, not just an employer, even though legally, yeah, it's still employee, employer, but it makes you operate differently. It makes you understand that if I'm a business and I've been hired to help this business increase their business, you're going to give more. You're going to produce more. You're not just going to sit around and hang out. Mm-hmm. And the only way to produce more is then for you to understand, I've got to grow. I am the person responsible for growing my business.
Yes.
Period. Nobody else is. And so that means opportunities to serve. That's going to mean maybe certifications and things that you're going to do to add value to your business. But I also will tell you, it comes to me also from a biblical perspective. If you open up the Bible anywhere, you don't see a bunch of corporations. The most you see where there's collectives are going to be the Army, maybe once a year when people are in the field gathering things.
Mm-hmm.
And also maybe if you owned an inn, did you have employees? Everybody worked for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's no corporations that took care of people. So,
yep. So true. Wow, we've got some people joining us this morning that want to say hi to you. We have Gail Mason's on, Cindy and Melissa and Daniel and Levon. They all say top of the morning back to you, Roxie.
Oh, good.
And I bet you can guess who this is. Good morning, cuz.
Oh, yes. Hey, Steve.
Steve Johnson's on with us, and also Andy Interkin. Melissa did have a question for you, Roxie.
Yeah.
She said, what is the most common mistake made while searching for new employment?
Limiting yourself. Most people will look at something and they will think because of a certain job title and they don't read the definition of what that job title entails, or the department maybe that job is located in, they might not look it all the way through. They're just looking for a certain kind of job title. And one company is going to call a particular position one thing, but another company is going to describe it completely differently. So if you're only looking by job title, you might miss one of the best things you could be maybe applying for.
Gotcha. Yeah. You have to have an open mind.
Yeah.
Especially when you're reinventing yourself. And I know you are great at helping people do that. In fact, you talk about the people, you have a brand. You are your own brand. And
Right.
you've told us a few times that really you should think of it like show business.
Yeah.
What do you explain that to our viewers?
Well, I even led a webinar this past week with Lee Heck Harrison, a company I work with, and I forgot to mention that with Glenn a few minutes ago, but I will do that later. It is a concept to understand that when we name somebody in show business, you can name their name and you think automatically their brand, what they do. Are they a singer? Are they an actor? Are they a performer? Or what is it that they do? Are they a producer? Well, in your small network, those people that know you want them to know you by what you do, not necessarily the company you work for.
Gotcha.
So, the company you work for is the second part of what you do, but the first part of what you do is your brand. What kind of things do you do?
Perfect. Okay.
And that really leads me to this. You made a really good point when we talked earlier in the week about that your resume is essentially a sales brochure.
Yeah.
And it ties into, how are you marketing yourself and positioning yourself as a brand? So what would be, I guess, some key tips that you would say in preparing yourself, not only for your resume, but for your job interview and having that mindset of like, you are the product?
Well, if you're the product, and in other words, and you're the brand, and you also step back into that all business is show business thing. If you're looking for that going into you said talk about going into the interview, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, going into the interview, you got to look at it as an audition. And this is why the mindset is differently. If I'm thinking about it from that perspective, I've rehearsed my lines. I've practiced my lines out loud where my ears hear my voice talking about me, which is a very uncomfortable thing for most people because you don't do interviews that often in your life. So when you do one, you get all nervous. And a lot of times you'll go into an interview thinking you have to go in there to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No, you got to go in there to sell yourself. It's an audition.
Yes.
So be confident in talking about yourself and in talking about especially those key areas of talent you have, of how that especially might relate to that company. So you need to research that company, research that industry, research that position so that you know what those words need to be with that interview.
Yeah, you had talked about too that you got to know your audience. Like you've got to know each company is a different audience, and to kind of figure I thought that was really profound.
I have a little bit of playback. Does anybody else hear it? Not really? Okay.
I don't.
It's just me. I'll turn down mine a little bit. That's what I was trying to figure. Is it me? It probably is. So anyway, sorry to interrupt there. Go ahead, Sarah. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was just done. I just love that point that you made about how you've got to, when you're auditioning, you got to make sure that you understand who your target audience is. I thought that was a really great point.
That's great advice. So if someone is feeling uncertain about their job security, how do you help them plan for possible shifts or changes and help them keep an eye out for different opportunities?
Well, if they're feeling insecure, that could be from everything from the fact that maybe their company's making bad decisions and it's real obvious they're making bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they in an industry where the regulations have changed and now it's being forced to change? Or is it a bad economic times? I mean, there's a lot of those kind of things that make people feel scary. The thing is to be prepared with your sales brochure, your resume. As a lot of times people go, oh, I don't even know where my resume is. Oh gosh, I got to update my resume. That's a sales brochure about the brand of who you are, and you need to be keeping up with it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You've got it in a folder or you've got it on a thumb drive. When something happens in the business you're working with that was a major coup and you were involved and it's got numbers with it and how much money was made, how much money was saved, all of those kind of things, and you were part of that team, write the details of that down immediately so you don't have to, so you can remember it so that you've got that to update that resume. So when you feel uncertain, the first thing you got to do is go ahead and prepare your branding tool, one of them, which is your resume. Also start updating that branding tool of your LinkedIn profile, because that's the one thing that gets folded into interviews now that didn't used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Check you out on LinkedIn. So it needs to be matching what you're going to be seeing on a piece of paper. And then what's coming out of your mouth when somebody says, now tell me what you do. Oh my gosh. Well, what are you going to be looking for? You've had those versions of those questions before.
Yeah.
So you got to be prepared. Again, that audition statement. You need to be able to give, this is what I am and this is what I do.
It's show business, people.
Yeah. So getting those tools prepared for a change.
Mm-hmm.
What you do. And then it also means paying attention to maybe something that you've always had in the back of your mind, but if anything ever came up, you'd like to see what's going on with that company. So you also want to be checking out companies you're interested in, that you've always been interested in, and just kind of checking to see what's going on. And if you ever see a position come open that just, oh man, even though you didn't think you were looking for a job, if that job title and that position is something you've always wanted and you really are feeling real uncertain about where you are, why not go interview? You ain't got anything to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they offer you the job, you don't have to say yes. If you're not ready.
And it goes back to exactly what you said a minute ago. Don't limit yourself, no matter where you're at in your career. Yeah. We have Trevor. We have Trevor on. We have Michelle Blanton on. Trevor's asking a question, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to ask his question instead of doing mine because I think this is a really important one. He says, "Do you find most people's resumes aren't effectively representing their abilities and experience?"
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question, and it is because a lot of times your resume reflects your previous job description, and you don't need a job description. I mean, you've got to have in your resume, in any particular job title, yes, reflections of information below there that represents what you did, but it's more important to have accomplishment statements. Those kind of things that while you were there, whether you did it or whether you and another colleague did it or whether you and a team of people did it, how did you help that company in that job title solve problems? Did you help implement something? Did you help save the company money? Did you help train? You want action words. You don't want to use the words responsible for or duties included. Those words got to be out of there.
Yeah, it should be a task list.
It's got to lead with an action word.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And hopefully with some kind of result. And sometimes the result is really just adequately describing the volume, the sheer volume. If you were going to be a sales manager, sales manager, and you were sales manager of the Southeast. Well, you could be a sales manager of the Southeast for 2 offices in Alabama and Mississippi that had maybe 7 salespeople, or I could be a sales manager in the Southeast of all 9 states in the Southeast with 200 offices and 1,500 salespeople. All I did was describe the difference in the volume with the same job title.
Mm-hmm.
So volume sometimes can be a good part of that description of what you do.
Fantastic. I'll go one more and then we'll move along here. Everybody's wanting to know so much stuff. It's awesome. I think you answered Cindy's question about how important LinkedIn is. And then Lavonna says, I guess she's just making a comment. It's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
She nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. That is, you'd rather be prepared and not need it than to need it and not be prepared. Because if you're not prepared, you're so freaked out of not having everything pulled together, you can't focus on going for it, go forward on that. And one of the things about that Cindy brought up that I think I didn't mention that a lot of people are not aware of, LinkedIn several years ago, began to have, if any of you sign in today, notice that in your own little menu bar, you got the word jobs. And that's because this point in time, there are some really big companies, the only 2 places that they're posting jobs are on their own company website and LinkedIn. They're not on any other job board. So the more robust your LinkedIn profile is, the more people you're connected to. So when a job gets put in or posted, it will draw to your little jobs menu bar. So that's important to know. If you hadn't got anything details in your LinkedIn profile, then those jobs don't have anything they can attach to and yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Because I did want to ask you, if someone's in a position and they want to kind of change career paths or redefine their career, what do you think would be maybe some of the first things that they should do, perhaps like from a networking standpoint, to kind of shift directions?
Well, in a networking point of view, if they want to be shifting directions, a part of that is going to be, do they want their current company or previous company to even know that they're looking? So sometimes you're doing that in the QT, So, but what I would do if I'm trying to shift career paths, in other words, I'm just tired of doing what I'm doing, and I really want to do something different. Sometimes I always tell people, just think about when you've been around other people and you've heard them describing what they do, and you just catch yourself captivated by what they're saying. You just, oh man, you just want to hear more and more about what they're doing. So that can be a clue to something you might want to do. But it also might be the fact of just thinking about, from the perspective, you've been in the workforce long enough, you see things that you know that you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Start having private conversations, advice kind of conversations with those people in that industry and in that job function, and just asking them, you don't have to even tell them that you're looking. You're just curious about, how did they get to do what they do? And what do you like the most about it? What do you like the least about it? So it's almost like you go on this information gathering deal to kind of go, well, where do I want to maybe redirect myself?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can be so paralyzed, especially if you've been laid off. I mean, I've been in that situation where it's a kind of a panic thing, and you wouldn't be panicking if you already had your stuff together the whole time and you were ready to go. Yeah. So definitely a good point.
Going back to what you said about a job title captivating you. So I would say about a year ago, I'm sorry, my cat is losing his mind right now. So I'm just going to get through this question and mute myself.
On the show.
So about a year ago in BNI, you challenged all the members to come up with like a secondary alternative job title for themselves. Yeah. It was a really fun activity. It really challenged the mind. But can you kind of touch on why those different, like rephrasing your job title can have an impact on a conversation?
Well, just think about all the different networking conversations that you've had when we're all at business networking and, hi, how do you do? I've never seen you before. Whatever the conversation is, what do you do? Sometimes there's a job, a badge on or something like that. But we begin to tell people what we do usually by either industry type titles or a specific job title. And so that's okay. But you also, while you were standing around, there were 3 other people that had that same job title. Okay. So how's that person you're trying to impress going to remember you? So give them a little something. Give them a little something that's going to make them go, oh yeah, I can't remember her name. They might not even remember your name, but they're going to remember that creative job title, because when you say the job title, you're going to have somebody go, oh my gosh, now what is that? And so we had such great creative things back then, and so in fact I asked Cindy last night. I said, Cindy, could you remember yours when I was talking with her? But let me give you an example. Since you guys are a marketing, but everything about Fusion One is online. It's all technical products and services. Okay. So let's say that if you had somebody that your customer calls in, maybe a typical job title might be somebody that ran the department that handled everybody that handled those incoming calls with your customers, maybe a customer service director, because that would be an adequate description. Well, what if it was an online advocate director?
Wow. It's fancy.
So our online advocate director is really our customer service director. And what if you were a public accountant? Well, what if you said you were a revenue justifier?
Oh, wow.
It's definitely more memorable than
something memorable. And we always throw the word director, marketer, or manager at the end of it if you happen to be in management, but just something that really describes it, but it's just a little different hook. So somebody goes, now what? Now what is that? And you tell them, look, basically I'm a public accountant.
Yeah.
So
I like it. Has flair.
It goes back to that branding. What can you do to make people remember you?
That's exactly right. Well, thanks to Cindy. Speaking of Cindy, she texted me and said that Chad Bennett's on. usually when we're in this platform, we can't see who's on unless they comment. So she said that she saw a couple of these people fly by, Chad Bennett, Julie Gardner, and Keith Side. So we want to say good morning to them too.
Good morning.
And Michelle Blanton said, she goes, yeah, she definitely found her current company on LinkedIn, not a normal job site.
Good. Yeah.
Now, talking about LinkedIn, I know that we've mentioned that you can find your job on LinkedIn, but how do you also coach people to use it as a tool to maybe find, to hunt for a new opportunity and to even network on that site?
Well, the biggest way to network on it from that job perspective is always first and foremost, have a good LinkedIn profile that, again, is just like your sales brochure resume. It's showing how well you do what you do. But you want to make sure how many people you connected with. When you go to these networking meetings, are you following up and connecting with them and saying, hey, we met at XYZ, the Chamber of Commerce, blah, 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 connecting. Then if I'm going to be interviewing, then I might go into LinkedIn and put in the name of the company I'm interviewing with and discover how many people I might be connected with that might be connected to that company. I had no idea. Are they connected to somebody that's connected to that company? Well, then if I call Kelsey to ask her about a company that somebody named Glenna that she's connected with, and she works for this company I'm interested in. Kelsey, how well do you know Glenna? Real well. Would you mind? Would you mind introducing to her? I'm going to be interviewing with the company she's currently working with, and I would love to pick her brain about any advice. Or Kelsey might say, well, I met her at a networking meeting. I don't know her real well, but I'll be glad to introduce you. It's kind of like you're looking for that link in LinkedIn with people and companies. And sometimes it's just a matter of, that you're going to be interviewing with somebody with a company. So you just want to see who's going to pull up, and the other thing I would recommend, that if you know who you're going to be interviewing with at any given time, check them out on LinkedIn. They're going to check you out. So you go check them out. They can see that you checked them out. That's okay. That shows you know what you're doing.
That is so true.
That is so true. Sean's got a good question here. He said, as a business owner, would you even consider a candidate that didn't have a LinkedIn profile?
Good one.
That is a good question, and not necessarily. It's a strong tool to use, but you'll be surprised at how many directors and managers, even with larger corporations, that they themselves don't have a LinkedIn profile. That's one of the reasons why within LinkedIn there's the ability to customize your LinkedIn profile address, because you can make it a public address. That's really for people that don't have a LinkedIn profile, so they can't look you up inside. But it depends on what they were going to be doing. If it's somebody that's supposed to be my marketing director, my sales director, then I might be a little bit concerned about why they don't have a LinkedIn profile. But it depends on what they're going to be doing. Would they really need to utilize LinkedIn in their everyday work life? Maybe not. But if they did and they don't have one, since all marketing is going online so strongly every day, I think then.
Yeah. So what would you say are all the areas that you help with someone's career path? And do you have a certain clientele? Like, do you help students just fresh out of college, just getting their career started, and all the way to somebody who is, had a job loss and they're close to retirement, so to speak? Yeah.
I've actually dealt with all of those. And part of that is with the fact that, I'm actually somebody who you would actually identify, and we do have a definition for this called a portfolio career. I do multiple things, and a lot of things in that same industry. I'm the lead career coach for a company called Lee Heck Harrison. They're a huge, large international company that does career transition for companies. But I'm also the career coach for the MBA program at the Collette School of Business. And the reason they have me there is because so many of those students are working. They're not coming straight out of college. But I've had that all the way from out of college to somebody retiring. What I usually find with retiring is I tell them this: go ahead and get everything pulled together. Even if you're close to retiring, you never know that you might land in a job that you really like and you don't want to stop. Or if you're close to retirement and you've already got financially what you need and you were just tired of being the manager You want to be an individual contributor because you like doing the work, but you don't like managing the people. Well, financially, you could take a dip, but you're going to have to convince the employer why.
Yeah.
They're going to, why are you taking a less responsible job?
Yeah.
Convince them that you're just ready to be a contributor and what you can bring to the table. You know, so it's all different, and you have to take it case by case, because you've got some college students I've dealt with that the whole time they've been in college, they've been working. Well, their resume, you can put so much more there than somebody that just came out of high school, went to college. They haven't had a job day one. They haven't volunteered for anything. They hadn't done anything. All they got is a degree. That's a tough one.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's the reason we're so glad, because even within the university systems nationwide now, they have a program about connecting those kind of kids with employers.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing to see that a lot of you wouldn't be aware of, but it's nationwide, and it helps those kind of kids. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to show your contact information. So anybody that wants to reach out to Roxie for some advice, career coaching, has your information and can do so. Before we wrap it up, though, I want to ask, do you have a little tidbit of advice that you could give to young professionals that maybe haven't been in the workforce, that are starting to enter it now in this really strange time that we have going on right now?
If you're entering the workforce in the first pandemic we've had since 1918, you're going to have an interesting story to tell. But the biggest thing I would say is just to pay attention. If you're entering the workforce, are you going into a company that the product they deliver is a discretionary product, or is it a necessity product? If I'm going into the workforce right now and it's not a necessary product, is that going to be safe for me to do? In other words, let me give you an example. If I'm entering the restaurant industry, or the kind of company that might cater to restaurants, that's discretionary income. If I'm going to be going into an industry where the products and the foods they deliver are going to be to the grocery store, that's necessity. Because even the little bit of money I have to go buy groceries, but I don't have to go into the restaurant to eat, even especially if that restaurant's closed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's great.
So, checking out the industry.
That's a great point, because there were a lot of industries that took a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
And still taking a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
So that's great advice. Well, let me ask you, who would be a great referral partner for you? For everyone listening, if they have people that they could introduce to you, and us as well, we'd like to know who are the people that can help you.
I think anyone that they know of, that even if they're not ready to make a career change, but they understand the necessity of being prepared for what might be happening in the next few years, about helping them get their resume together, their head straight about what they might need to be. Also, even small businesses that might have training materials that they need to have somebody teach, because I can do that too. I do that for Lee Heck Harrison. It's their material I teach, but I go deliver to their clients and services. So delivering that kind of thing, or someone that might be thinking about making a change in their career, or they currently having to make a change in their career, or they're just trying to prepare for the future and understand that concept of being branded. Like, who the heck are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I do want to mention, since we are also on a podcast, so people know how to contact you, it's Roxie Kelley, Your Career as a Business, and your email is roxie@roxiebiz.com. That's ROXIE@ROXIEBIZ.com.
Perfect. I'm glad you remembered that, Sarah. I always forget that they can't see it on a button.
Only listening.
All right. Is there anything else, Roxie?
A reminder for that. You notice Roxie Biz, Kelsey Biz, Sarah Biz, Glenna Biz. That's what I mean.
Your career as a business.
Your biz. Yeah.
That's it.
Is there anything else we haven't covered, Roxie? This has been a fast half hour, but if there's anything else we haven't included that you would like to talk about?
No, I would just say that during this scary time, a lot of times people think everything's closing down. It's not, because I'm talking to people every day that are interviewing with companies and that are getting jobs. It's just, so yes, absolutely, certain industries have been hit. And it also tells us and gives us an idea that even if you want to enter that industry in the future, that would be maybe the kind of industry, if something like this happened again, where there would need to be closures. Are you prepared for it financially? You would want to, ahead of time, prepare maybe for an interruption, it doesn't mean get out of the industry. It just means prepare for an interruption, because if I'm a discretionary product, I'm vulnerable.
That is so true.
Very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready for the hot seat?
Uh-oh.
Let's go.
All right. No need to be scared. All right. We're going to give you 60 seconds, Roxie. This is just kind of a fun game that we like to play. I'll ask you some different questions and just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. Do we have 60? Anybody? All right.
I got it.
Okay. Here we go. Would you like to take a train or a bus?
A train.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip.
Are you a dog or a cat person?
Both, but I like cats.
Okay. Would you pick roses or sunflowers?
Roses.
Would you like to go fishing or kayaking?
Kayaking.
What was your favorite decade?
The one I'm in, because I'm still alive.
The best answer ever.
The 70s had the best music on.
Oh, I was going to say, and Roxie is a huge music fan. So what is your favorite type of music?
Oh, gosh. Country, I would say, would be a strong one. But I would say also, pop. Yeah. Gospel.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a night owl.
And what's your favorite season of the year?
Fall, because of how beautiful it is. I love all the colors in the fall.
Perfect. You didn't miss a beat, not one. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on today, Roxie. It's been so much fun. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's been so much fun to be with you guys, and I just love what Biz Talk does. It just exposes all of us to details about other people that we get to learn every week, and that's just incredible. That is just an incredible service you guys provide.
Oh, well, thank you. We have a ball at it, that's for sure. So thank you again. And I also want to thank everybody for joining us. And we will have a new marketing mix segment Tuesday at 8. And then next week for Biz Talk, we will be back with Lisa Phillips from Mary Kay. So that's going to be fun. So everybody have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.